distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, bonsoir à tous et bienvenue. Welcome, everybody. This very special night. I've been given 5 minutes to extol the virtues of public service and laud the accomplishments of Kevin Lynch. Now, as somebody with a foot in both worlds, I've often been asked to describe the differences between the position of deputy minister and the CEO, for example, of a large corporation. Well, both of them have tough jobs. Indeed, there are many other similarities. Both must manage very sophisticated operations to the benefit of shareholders, stakeholders, if you like. Both must inspire employees, meet their budget, deliver on their business plan. But there, the similarity ends. To start with, the CEO actually knows who he's responsible to, the board of directors. The deputy minister must figure that out. He's got to figure out, since he's appointed by the prime minister, works for a minister, and is accountable to the clerk, who he works for. The deputy minister must publicly defend his expense account, often posted online. He must comply with the restrictions of the privacy commissioner, live by the very tough rules of the integrity commissioner, respect the extraordinarily wide-ranging rules of the Right to Information Act, which means that everything that you do in a fishbowl. He must ensure that the provisions of the Official Languages Act are respected. He must lead a workforce that is largely, if not entirely, unionized. He must be prepared to work with the political ideology of the party in power. He must balance the political interest of the minister and his political staff with his professional obligations to the Crown. He must be prepared to be second-guessed and possibly, in fact, usually publicly embarrassed by the Auditor General. He must be prepared to testify before parliamentary committees, often in a very unflattering way. He must submit to being pressured and second-guessed by cabinet and by caucus. He must resist the blandishments of lobbyists and interest groups. He must suffer the criticism of the opposition, the press, and the public. He must be effectively frozen from working for years after he leaves public office, and all for a fraction of the compensation that a private sector employee is paid. Other than that, the jobs are almost identical. To use an analogy that I often use to compare the two worlds, Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, but did it backwards and in high heels. And that brings us to Kevin. Not the high heels. We haven't seen that around a government building since J. Edgar Hoover. No. Let's talk about Kevin. Professional, hardworking, knowledgeable, flexible. Kevin had to do everything from prosecuting a war to dealing with a financial services crisis, to producing budgets, to being in the middle of the largest constitutional crisis, arguably, since 1926, and so on and so on. It takes enormous skill to navigate those troubled waters. And Kevin is a great Canadian patriot. I don't know of anybody who is more often out extolling the virtues of Canada, selling Canada to the world than Kevin Lynch, and much of what he sells are things that he himself has made possible. So tonight, Kevin, I pay tribute as a friend and an admirer to a true professional, a man who's the very epitome of the word service in public service. I salute you for your dedication to our country. And it's now my pleasure to introduce another great Canadian patriot, a man who's devoted his entire life to the service of this great country, and a man who's justifiably given credit for having made Canada the poster child for fiscal responsibility while being socially progressive, and helped to position us to survive the most recent financial meltdown to the envy of the entire world. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you former Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Jean Chrétien.